So TaylorMade have the 3 Stealth 2 series drivers this year. So you've got the Stealth 2 Plus, Stealth 2 and the Stealth 2 HD. So we're going to do a little piece about what the differences between them actually are from a performance point of view. Not necessarily the theories behind them or some of the tech, but actually what physically are the differences in ball flight between the different heads and what can you expect to see from each model. So we've got a couple of shots with each as a bit of a bank already. I'm going to hit 2 or 3 more with each club head. Describe the feel, performance a bit, but then look at the numbers and explain why you like to see what with each model. So I'm going to start with the Stealth 2 Plus. So weight further forward, designed around higher speed, higher flight. So it sits a little bit flatter than the others as well, so that's a little bit more anti-left from a setup point of view. Marginally more compact head style. It's a horrible one at the bottom to start with. More solid. So it's certainly a very solid feel. It's weight forward, you're always going to get quite a kind of solid sensation off the face. Definitely notice a bit of twist when you miss hit it. So a little toe side there. Okay. Just do the one more, get a good bank. It's a very strong feeling head. Weight forward's always going to feel very solid because the weight's right behind the face, but you do definitely notice a bit of a miss hit out of it. So the last one was hit very, very well, and one of the things we'll come on to when we look at the data is where the spin variances go with this head in particular. But we'll summarise across all the heads once we've hit them all. So we're going to move into the standard model Stealth. Now this one, the weight sits a little further back, so the adjustable weight at the front of the Stealth Plus, 2 Plus, is to move CG position a little toe, little heel side, partly for strike point, but partly also just a little bit of shot shape bias as well. But by moving the weight back, gives it a bit more stability off centre, but also generally should mean a little bit more flight as well. So going to hit each of these drivers in exactly the same setting. So from a measured loft point of view, we've measured them all. The Stealth 2 and the Stealth 2 Plus measure identical lofts in these couple of heads. The lie sits a little bit more upright on the Stealth 2, so it's not geared, that more upright lie helps the toe come through a little bit more, so it's not geared towards an anti-left shot like the Plus is a little bit more. And so slightly bigger head footprint behind the ball too. Noticeably a very stable feel through impact. Definitely a little less solid in terms of guts to the contact, but definitely more resistance to twisting. Let's do the one more there. The carbon face on all of these gives a really distinctive sound. It's one thing you really get out of the TaylorMade heads, is a very different note to the other club heads because of the composite face. So very, very solid, stable head that. With the Plus you really notice a miss hit. This one, harder to tell where you've struck it, which can be viewed as a good and a bad thing, but certainly across the face, very, very solid performance there. I don't believe ball speed seeing any real difference at all. And going to the HD, now the HD, this series is really designed around getting a little bit more flight. So whereas it has been perceived as a drawbar head in the past, it isn't really a drawbar head. This is about getting a little bit more elevation. So in terms of actual measured loft, the particular head that we're hitting here in the same settings as the other 2 heads does measure a degree more loft. So we are going to see a little bit of a change in flight based purely on that. And the other aspect is it sits another degree and a bit more upright than the Stealth 2, so around 2 degrees more upright than the Stealth Plus. And visually just toes in a little bit as well, so let's see where we get to with this. A very similar shape to the Stealth 2. Maybe caught fractionally lower on the face there. Again, very, very stable. Didn't really feel the head twist. Off balance slightly there, but yeah, maybe a little higher at the face. Let's do one more there. So, all pretty representative in terms of swings. Maybe one a little higher at the face with the HD. So it's worth looking through the data across the 3 heads. We've had 6 hits with each head, essentially here. So what we can see looking across the data here, I'm going to slide the screen across very slightly, just so you can see the far right number. So height-wise, what is noticeable is how much higher the HD is. Now, yes, it measures a degree more loft. We're seeing just over a degree more launch versus the Stealth 2 and a degree and a half versus Stealth 2 Plus. So from the loft affecting it a certain amount, but we're also seeing a progression in spin between the 3. So 2.2 from the Stealth 2 Plus, 2.4 from the Stealth 2, and then 2.8 from the HD. So there's a definite progression in heads. You can certainly see the flight profile developing as we've gone through the different models. Weight forward in the Stealth 2 Plus is bringing that spin rate and that launch angle down a little bit. But what we do see there is also there isn't a change proportionally in ball speed. So the smash factor on each of those 3, 147, 147 and 146. So there's a very, very slightly lower, for me, ball speed out of the HD because it's picking it up a little bit more and launching it a bit higher. So that's lost me a little bit of ball speed, a mile an hour and a bit maybe. Mile, hour and a half, but not a great deal. It's really in the pitch of flight. And the other aspect we can see, angle of attack, within 0.2 of a degree tolerance either side from all those 3. Path, I'll take those, pretty neutral. Again, face to path, all very neutral. So we're not manipulating the flight data with the swing lines, but we can see you've got a 7 degree steeper land angle, that very far right column between the HD and the Plus. So really, from a raw average ball flight point of view, if you're a higher ball hitter and a higher spinner of the ball, the Plus is clearly a better head for low spin and bringing the launch angle down. The one thing you do lose a little bit with that head is a bit of consistency on spin. So we can see the smaller numbers underneath the spin numbers. So I point at those here. So the 3 numbers here. That's the tolerance on spin. So what we can see at the Plus is that it's almost twice as much of a tolerance on spin than the other 2 models, and that's purely based on where you strike it. So the variation spin across the face is a little bit more volatile on that head than the other 2. The other 2 are very, very consistent. A couple of hundred revolutions, really not a lot. 400 is not a vast amount, but equally speaking, we can definitely see where the head styles punish you a little bit more off centre, but from a low spin point of view, reward you a little bit more out the centre, whereas the other 2 heads just let you get away with just a touch more. So that's certainly one thing to bear in mind. I think for the highest ball speed players and the best ball strikers, the Plus series is a really good head, especially if you're trying to bring that top of the flight down a little bit. TaylorMade have always been very strong at bringing the flight down slightly. But by moving into the Stealth 2 rather than the Plus, you buy yourself a bit of margin of error. So that's certainly something. As you can see it in 106 miles an hour, those swings, you haven't got to be very high speed or moderate speed to make each head work. It's more about how you launch the ball. And then into the HD, if someone struggles with launch and struggles getting the ball airborne, that's where that head and the whole series on the HD, from driver to fairway to hybrid to irons, this year's been engineered about more flight. So we can clearly see that from the data. And actually what's really reassuring is you can see how much you've got 24 feet, so 8 yards difference in flight height between the HD and the Plus. So you're taking top to bottom, there's a really broad range of trajectories available out of the 3 heads. So something that whilst it's always nice when the marketing and actually what happens with the products does what they say it's going to do. So really clear differences in ball flight from each of the three heads. Certainly some differences in forgiveness. So something that if you're considering looking at the TaylorMade drivers, look at what your ball flight is. If you've got access to a launch monitor, look at where your spin profiles are. And if you're looking to bring flight down, the lower you need to launch it. So you've got lofts to help you with that as well, but proportionally the lower spin you need, the plus will give you a bit better for that. The Stealth 2 sits in the middle as a really good all-around stable product, and the higher ball flight, the HD. So I hope that helps give us a bit of guidance on the three heads, and if ever you're testing them out, hopefully you now know what to look for.